In 1845, the Republic of Texas joined the Union and became the state of Texas. What had been a trickle of immigrants coming to Texas became a flood of settlers, eager for new lives in this promising frontier. Southerners loaded families and belongings into wagons and made the long journey to the Lone Star State. Many decided to make their new homes in the rolling piney woods of East Texas. They cleared the land, turning forests into farms, and began doing what they knew best, growing cotton and corn. Among those early settlers were the great-grandparents of Loy Gilbert. 3 generations later, when Loy was born in 1914 in Van Zandt County, his family still lived much the same way as the pioneers, growing their food, making their clothes, and struggling to earn money by growing cotton. In those days, before the gasoline-powered tractor, farmers used horses and mules to plow their fields and work their crops. To feed those draft animals, they had to grow lots of corn. Cotton and corn, working with animals, living a self-sufficient life. That was the norm in rural East Texas from the 1840s to the 1940s. From an early age, Loy Gilbert realized the value of remembering those time-honored traditions. For decades, he collected and preserved artifacts of that era, including a log cabin, log barn, buggies and wagons, and virtually all the implements used to operate an early farmstead. At age 91, Loy Gilbert recalled how he and his neighbors lived during that bygone time. His memories chronicle East Texas farm life when cotton was king.
My name is Loy Gilbert. I was born in the rural route of Ben Wheeler, March the 19th, 1914. I had 3 sisters, and I was the only boy and the baby in the family. I was raised on the same farm till I left to go to college. My dad, in 1918, tore down the old house we were living in and used the lumber plus additional lumber to build us a new house. It was a bungalow type house, 5 rooms. We had no running water, didn't have any electricity. We had an Aladdin kerosene lamp, which gave a good light. I was fortunate to have that to study by. We had a cow shed and a seed house on one side of the house, and we had a large barn with stalls on each side of the hall, across the road in front of the house. Our farm consisted of 176 acres. It was well watered, had 2 creeks on it and springs. Well, see, prior to coming into cotton, the farming was very primitive. They just grew something to eat, and that was about it. With the advent of the cotton gin, which in the 1850s, it was really that became a source of money crop for them, because that was really the first money crop that they'd had. You was farming with horses, so the corn crops were raised basically to feed the work stock, working the cotton, and it was the whole livelihood or style of life was fashioned to accommodate the cotton and corn farming. Cotton demanded that it be a clear field. It couldn't grow in the shade. It had to have sunlight, which meant the trees had to come out. Growing of cotton forced the clearing of the land in the bigger fields. Most people had a hired hand, just general help. The hired hands were paid, as I recall, $1 to $1.50 per day, plus room and board. A hired hand was an employee, but is also a friend. The farms in our area, it could have been operated by the same fellow because everybody went through the same routine. You go to the bank and get a commitment, that you need so much money to make a crop, and the bank would loan you the money in it, and he'd advance it to you as you went along during the year. You started in January, getting the land ready for the corn, and then when you got the corn planted out of the way, then you devote your time to getting the land ready for planting the cotton. Well, you try to get your cotton planted by the middle to the last of April. First thing after you planted it came up, you'd plow it. Normally you figured on plowing that cotton about 4 to 5 times before you laid it by. That's when you referred to laid by as when you plowed it the last time. And then by the time you got ready to lay it by, you'd come back and hold the cotton again to get the weeds and grass out of it. Nearly everybody in my family hoed cotton and picked cotton. Now, I never did like to hold cotton, I'd rather plow. And I started plowing at an early age and plowed right on through. You farm with horses or now mules in the pasture, in the field. You plow them 10 hours a day. You get where you talk to them like there's people. My dad always worked horses till I was a teenager, and we got a pair of mules to go with them. He always felt like the horses were gentler and were a little bit on the smarter side. I would go to the field and ride the horse while he was plowing. And we'd, of course, carry on in conversation all the time. He'd tell me stories from his boyhood, and I'd think, did I see him? Did I see that, or did Papa tell me about it? And that's one reason that a lot of stuff that I know about, of course, told it from my dad. Well, in the harvesting, of course, corn matured before cotton did. Corn would mature, do most of its growing in June. Anytime from August on, you'd harvest corn. Usually you start picking cotton about the middle of August. You try to get through picking cotton over in October before it got cold, bad weather. My dad probably had a 4th grade education. He always figured I was pretty smart. He took 1,500 pounds of seed cotton, that's just cotton seed all together, to make a 500-pound bale of cotton. So you had to keep books and stop the hands from picking, or start them on another wagon and another pile when they got to 1,500 pounds. And he trusted me with keeping up with the cotton at an early age, and most of the time you had to pay the hands for picking every day, and he trusted me with the money to pay them every night. When the cotton gin was invented, it really brought the cotton to the front as a money crop, because prior to that time the seed and the lint cotton was separated by hand, which was a slow process. You always felt like you was really harvesting your money when you went to the gin, because you were sitting in your cotton and that was the money crop. And when you got to the gin, you drive under what was called a suction and unload the cotton. It suck it up out of the wagon through the gin stands, which separated the seed from the cotton. That 500-pound bale of cotton was usually about 4 by 5 by 2 foot. In order to sell a bale of cotton, the farmer would bring it to town. And my earliest recollections of going to town is in the Model T. My dad bought our first one in 1917 because the Model T truck came along and they could take 4 bales of cotton and take them 30 or 40 miles to market and get back in one day. And the horse and wagon, you take a 2-day trip to get that done. And I guess that was one of the first things that displaced the horse and wagon, was hauling the cotton to market. When the farmer brings his cotton to town, he goes to the cotton yard. Usually he'll have more than one bale of cotton, but each bale will be weighed. Everything smells like cotton. You know, everywhere you look, you'd see cotton bale or samples of cotton. But my recollection was following my dad around, going from one cotton buyer to the other, and every one of them would have the same routine. He'd get a sample of that cotton and pull it and look at it. He just measured it with his eye. He just knew what he was looking for. When he made the deal and sold them the cotton, they'd issue you a check for it. Of course, that's the thing you've been working for all the year. Most years you just get enough to pay your bank off and start over again. It's the best you could do with what he had, because there wasn't anything else that you could keep you employed. You didn't get rich, but you made some money. And the favorite expression was, "We make a good cotton crop this fall, I want to get so and so." Your want list was fashioned to the cotton crop. J.J. Moore and Sons was a big general mercantile store in Ben Wheeler. Moore's store was a source of supply. They had everything that the farmer would need. I guess his prices were reasonable. We had two blacksmiths in Ben Wheeler and one in Edom. A good blacksmith could make anything. The farmer just want one thing made. That might be the only time he ever made it. So they'd figure out a way to make it to fit. But the blacksmith was a general repairman, and the prices were reasonable. You had a choice of going to town and buying blankets or making quilts. My mother quilted, and she could quilt that quilt and hem it, and she had covers for the bed. She didn't have to buy it. It seemed like my mother did everything. She always appreciated all the help she could get, but cooking, milking the cows, cleaning the house, working in the garden, those were what you considered women's chores. And looking back, I don't know how in the world she did everything she did, but she did. Most farm families had at least one milk cow, probably from that on up to 4 or 5 milk cows. That was another little source of money that you always sell the calves off your milk cows. Most families raised a few hogs, to kill for the winter's meat. Hog killing was a big event because the pork could be cured, it could be raised economically, it was a source of protein. Mom would have ham or bacon every morning for breakfast. Mom would cook hot biscuits and put that butter in that hot biscuit and melt it and have buttered biscuit and syrup. And now when I was growing up, there was 2 or 3 syrup pans in every community. The fellow that owned the mill would make the syrup. He'd take 3 or 4 gallons of syrup for the use of his mill for a day. And it is another source of income, because the family would get a reputation for making good syrup. He didn't have any trouble selling his syrup. People would come to his farm to get the syrup. And it was just a simple life, more wholesome life. You were friendly with your neighbors. We didn't work all the time. There was a few dances, hoedown with the fiddle and the guitar. And they had some excellent country fiddlers. They'd command a big crowd, because get a good fiddler, or maybe 2 or 3 fiddlers, and it'd be a big house would be full, all out in the yard and so forth. And one fiddler would play a while, and then they change over and another one play. It really had some real good music. lived a mile and a quarter from the schoolhouse. I went to 4 different schools. I went to school at Sexton Chapel for the first 9 years of my schooling. I had always loved basketball all my life. My sisters, my youngest sister was 8 years older than me. And they all played basketball, and they'd bring the basketball home with them from school. When I went to school at Ben Wheeler, they had better equipment. And that's where I learned the fundamentals of basketball. Then I went to school at Van. The school gave me my room and board for playing basketball. Van was it was a Class A, accredited high school, and it had a chance to play. By that time I was tall and skinny, and everybody looked for that height, and that gave me a break. I was fortunate to have the ability, basketball ability, to get a scholarship to college. I had 2 years in Tyler Junior College, and 2 years in Baylor University. And I was really proud of that, because it meant getting off the farm. And even though I loved the farm life, it wasn't something you could get to the bank with. Then as now, if a fella wanted to really get out and work, he could make a place for himself.
Gradually, the place of the mule or horse-drawn plow was taken over by the gas or diesel-powered tractor. New machines also took the place of the human cotton picker. Large mechanized cotton farms sprang up in West Texas, while cotton farming in East Texas all but disappeared. Eventually, cattle raising took the place of cotton growing in East Texas. During and after World War II, new jobs attracted more and more people from the farms to the cities. After the war, Loy Gilbert forged a career in the East Texas oil business that lasted nearly half a century. Along with his wife Alice, Loy nurtured a love of history by continuing to preserve early farm artifacts. That legacy and the memories of Loy Gilbert offer a rare glimpse at rural life in East Texas when cotton was king.
I was always interested in history, and how it came about and how we did things in the earlier days. I realized they were gone and they were going down as part of the past, and just like to try to preserve it the best I could. The freedom of being on the farm, and I had a wonderful relationship with my parents. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd want to do it the same way.